January 1st. So just want to update anybody that was not on that call. Are you adding people when they come in, Taylor? Thank you. Oh, great. Crystal's here. Crystal, I'm glad you're here. Our meeting later might be shorter if you're here for this. Welcome, welcome. Just want to update everybody. If you were not on that mastermind call or you haven't seen the great news of the new year, but we do have a new fee structure, or a slightly new fee structure here at Realty ONE Group. We are taking down everyone's monthly fees to $100 a month. Yay. Nice dinner savings of maybe like a nice dinner out every month for your family, or you and your husband or wife. So just wanted to trying to keep everything 100 here. So, and helping everybody out this year and moving forward, reducing the fee to $100, but that doesn't mean you're losing any of the tools or support that we've been offering. So just sharing this document with you so you can kind of see it on paper, how everything's laid out. We do still have our mentee level. So newer agents joining the firm are going to be at that mentee level. If you are a provisional broker, we would love for you to work on dropping your provisional broker status. So we do have a small split for our PBs here, monthly fees the same. And then hopefully most of us are in this middle category, which is full broker and down to $100 a month. We did also instate a cap on transaction fees this year. So we would love somebody to reach this cap this year. It's once you've paid $6,000 worth of transaction fees into the company. This does not include your monthly fee. You will be capped, and you'll after that only owe $100 per transaction. So that would be a wonderful goal for somebody to reach this year. And because of life and the market, we have added a few more tiers to our transaction. We didn't change any of the fees, but we did add a couple more tiers down here at the bottom for some of our higher priced buyers and sellers. So we've got I think that should cover most situations. So just wanted to share that with everybody in case you missed that announcement. This has been sent out via email, and we did share it with the mastermind call as well. Anybody have any questions about these changes? No? Awesome. One more thing I wanted to share before we get started with SkySlope is this document right here. So let's say you don't ever want to look at SkySlope again because you just either don't have time, or you want to spend, your precious time working elsewhere in your business. We do have Taylor, who is on this call. She is our in-house transaction coordinator. So she can take care of all of the things that I'm about to discuss for you. And so I wanted to share this document, just kind of gives you a little overview of what it is that she's going to take care of for you. The cost for this service for a buyer, if you're using it for a buyer, it's $350. And you can just get that paid on your transaction form at closing. So you don't need to pay Taylor, outside of the deal. You can just have it deducted from your commission. So it's $350 for buyers. And if you would like to use Taylor for your listings, she does take over even pre-marketing the property. So she will put it in the MLS for you. I know for me, that's kind of like a stumbling block, like, writing your copy and making sure everything's correct in there. She will consult with you, obviously, about what needs to go in there. But I think that's a really nice feature of the selling side of this. And she does charge If you would like for her to do the MLS input, it's $375. But if you're going to go ahead and do the MLS input and you just need her to handle the paperwork and everything for you, it's $350, just like the buyers. So please reach out to Taylor. Here's her email address right here at the bottom, connect@realtyonegroupRevolution.com. Does anybody have any questions about this service? No? Sweet. All right. Make sure I'm sharing the right thing here. Okay, so what? It's not sharing. Sorry. Stop sharing. Now here we go. All right, so let's get into SkySlope. Thank you everybody for joining. I know most of you have some knowledge, some level of competence with SkySlope, I believe. If you don't, that's okay as well. I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible, but I'm also going to try to dive in a little bit with some tips and tricks that you may not be aware of with SkySlope, that can make your job a little bit easier, can make your workflow a little bit faster. But this is kind of designed as a complete overview of what you need to know to work within the firm with the SkySlope platform, and why we have it and what its purpose is. I know some of you coming from maybe other brokerages have used different compliance platforms. I know there's Dotloop is a big one. Does anybody use anything other than that? Dotloop, SkySlope. I only have used SkySlope at any firm I've been at. So been using it a long time. It's definitely had some changes along the way, but I think only for the good. So obviously everybody hopefully knows that to get to SkySlope, you do need to log into your one login, and you will see it listed here as one of your tiles. If you ever don't see SkySlope, it probably means when I log in, it shows me my most frequently visited tiles. So of course, that's one of my most frequently visited tiles. If you're not seeing it, you can go up here and search for SkySlope and you'll find it. Or you can click on your Everything tab and scroll through and try to find it. And we're going to go into SkySlope. Oh, yeah, Crystal, you had a question?
Just a quick one. Will you send us the recording of this training afterwards?
Yes, sorry, forgot to mention that. We are recording this and it will be sent out to everybody.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm glad you're here, Crystal, because this is something we were going to go over later today, but you're getting like a real deep dive into it now. So thanks for coming. All right. SkySlope is basically a suite of products that work together to help you accomplish your goals of getting properties closed and getting paid. The screen that we're looking at right now is what I call SkySlope Compliance. So this screen exists and everything on it exists for the purpose of the firm ensuring that you are being compliant. I'm sorry. It's not sharing. Sorry. When I switch, I forget to switch tabs. The purpose of this whole SkySlope Compliance is so that you're keeping compliant with the firm. You are letting your firm know when one of two things happens. The only time you have to enter anything into this page is when one of two things happens, because your firm needs to know when these two things happen. One is you have a property under contract. If the property is under contract, you need to submit that contract and all the associated forms to the firm. So that would be one reason you would need to create a transaction here in SkySlope Compliance. The other reason you would need to create a transaction or it's going to actually be called a listing, is when you have a listing contract signed. A listing agreement is signed with a seller. Therefore, the firm needs to know about that. So this is the portal where you're sharing these two pieces of information with the firm. But this isn't really where all of that's going to start. Obviously, to get all those things started, you're going to need forms and completed forms and signed forms. So this isn't where we're going to actually start today. Good morning. But I wanted to tell you that when you click into SkySlope, this is what you're going to see initially. Now, to get to forms, which is where we need to go to get these forms signed. Oh, and I did want to point out, like I said, the brokerage just really needs to be aware of.
Kristen.
Hey, Kristen.
Oh, sorry.
She's not on mute. I thought you were talking to me. She's answering the phone. The brokerage just needs to be aware of when those two things happen. So think of this as like the portal that we can see. Now, when we switch over to forms, that's kind of like your area, your personal place to send documents, create files, get organized. That's all like your desktop. But this SkySlope compliance screen is so that the company knows that you have the proper documentation for your transactions and your listings. So to get from SkySlope compliance into forms, there's a couple of different ways to do it. Before we leave the screen, I do want to point out in each of these platforms, you should always consider, if it's one of your first times in here, or maybe you've never done this before, click on your name up here in the right-hand corner and click on your account. Oh, is that opening? Oh, it's spinning. It's thinking about it. But you always want to check on your profile here, forms, DigiSign, just to make sure everything's set up the way that you want it to be for your personal account. Now this is. Can you hear me now? Now can you hear me? Sorry, guys, the internet went down.
I'm just connecting to Empires.
I'm just seeing.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Like the internet's gone out. I'm connected to my phone now, so I hope everything works out okay. Well, it's working fine on my phone. So anyway, I clicked on my profile. Are we still recording? It looks like it. All right. So you just want to make sure everything is correct here in your profile, just so that when you get started creating transactions and all that, everything's up to date. I've got my address, phone number. You want to check?
Can't see your screen, Allison.
Oh, sorry. You guys are keeping me on my toes. Am I not sharing anymore now? Everything got messed up when we got the internet lost. Sorry. All right. Here we go. Okay. We're back. Okay. Just checking to make sure everything here is looking correct. And I will point out on this screen, there is a little toggle down here that you can turn. So basically you can make your account accessible for a transaction coordinator or not accessible for a transaction coordinator. I suggest that you just keep this toggle turned on in case you ever want to use a transaction coordinator in the company. It makes it easier, allows them access into your files. You know, nobody's going to go in your files that's not authorized to do so, but you may have trouble letting a transaction coordinator in there if you don't have this toggle turned on. So just, you know, make sure that's turned on if you ever think you're going to consider using a TC. Okay. To go back to the home screen, I always click on that little emblem up in the left-hand corner. I kind of do that with mostly every website. Now, to get to forms, which is where we're going to, you know, get to work here, there's a couple of different options to get over to forms. You can click over here on this little emblem. I don't know if you noticed this, but that looks kind of like an F. That is SkySlope Forms. Or you can go up here to this little apps button. It's kind of like the same apps button that we have in Google. And it gives you the different platforms that you can toggle to from here. We're going to be heading into forms, but SkySlope does have a lot of other, you know, kind of products that they offer to real estate agents. So it depends on the state that you're in, the brokerage that you're with, what you're going to see here. I only ever use forms and DigiSign. Offers, to my understanding, is a way to organize and handle offers coming in on a listing that you have in SkySlope. And Breeze, I believe, is a platform to help consumers complete property disclosures. I think I used it one time and it did not go well because it kind of scared my client into thinking that they were going to face legal actions if they didn't complete the disclosures properly. So it was kind of a little bit of a, I'm sure it's probably a good product, but it just didn't work out for me that one time. So, and I don't know a whole lot about it. If you're interested in learning more about it, SkySlope does have obviously tutorials on this and offers if that's something you're interested in, you know, incorporating into your workflow here. But for the purposes of today, we're only going to be using SkySlope Compliance, Forms, and DigiSign. This is typically the way I head into forms once I've gotten into SkySlope. Okay, so once you get, oh, share this tab. Okay, so once I get into forms, I'm just going to kind of give you the lay of the land here. You're not typically going to be able to see all these files. It's because of my position here in the company. I can see all the files, but I immediately click over to my files because that's too many files for my brain to process. So I click over into my files. You guys should only have this option. And I can see, you know, previous files that I've been working on. It's nice because when you use the MLS Connect option, it brings in the photo from MLS. So you kind of get reminded, oh yeah, this is what I was working on. These are things that also have closed out. They're just all listed here for me. I can see in each file how many forms are in that file. I have 8 forms in this file. And you can also see how many envelopes you've sent from that file. We're going to get to envelopes being documents that you've sent for digital signature. Now, again, like we did on the other SkySlope page, we're going to go up here to our profile, click on user profile, and make sure that we have this completed to its maximum abilities. Because if you have this all filled out, it's going to make your forms auto-populate with all of this information. If you've been having to put your license number on every single form, it's because you don't have your license number listed here in your profile. So make sure that this is all completed as completely as you can get it. If you ever don't know what our brokerage MLS code is, I don't have it memorized either for some reason. I think my brain's reached the level where I can't memorize any other numbers. I always just go into MLS and find Realty ONE Group Revolution listing, or find our brokerage, and I find the MLS code there, as well as our brokerage license number. Any questions about this section and how to fill it out? Cool. So after we've done all that, make sure you click save. Don't forget to save. And then I just want to kind of talk about some of these options along the top of forms here. Again, we're back to files. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about templates. When you click on templates, you've got two choices in your templates category here. You have personal templates. These are templates that you've created for yourself. Only you can see these templates. And then we have brokerage templates. These are templates that were created by the brokerage for the use of anyone in the brokerage that would like to use templates. You can see they're named to kind of tell you why you would use this template. Is it North Carolina, South Carolina? Is it land? Is it residential? So I'm showing 9 templates. Now, I've heard from some people that they see different amounts of templates. Are you guys seeing anything different?
I've got non-revolution in mind.
You have a non-revolution? Yeah, there's a way that people from the firms create like templates, but then they share it with the whole company instead of just sharing it with their firm. So I know there's been some owners that have done that by accident. So you'll see like a Arizona template in there or something. Mine have all gotten cleaned out from that. So I'm not seeing those anymore, but you're still seeing that? Oh, it's not working. Okay. Do you guys see your templates? Do you have 9 or? Okay. All right. We're going to talk a little bit about templates. You could create a template right here if you wanted to. I mean, we can do one real quick. Like let's say that I wanted to make a template for showing properties, because now we need to have our buyer's agency to show properties. And that's just going to be basically 2 documents. That's going to be, I'm going to click on buyer because I'm showing properties. I'm going to name my template. I'm going to name it showing homes in NC. Okay. And then I'm going to find the forms that I need. You can always filter. So some of us have access to several different libraries. We're going to talk about the libraries of forms in a moment. Some of us have access to several different libraries. Some of us only have North Carolina. Some of us only have South Carolina. Some of us have both. If you're just like overwhelmed by this list of 298 forms, you can always narrow it down to just the North Carolina forms. I could search up here at the top for buyer. I'm going to go with exclusive buyer agency. Now, remember, if you're not sure if this is the form that you want and you need to visually look at it, you can click on it to take a gander. Yes, that's what I want. Also, remember from this page, you can also just download this blank form or you can print it from here. Just a little tip. I'm going to add that to my template. So now I'm going to look for my working with real estate agents. Please keep in mind that these libraries also include commercial forms. So that's why you see like similarly named documents over and over, because we've got residential forms in here as well as commercial. There is not a way to filter out the commercial forms, unfortunately. So if you don't know, the form number or you don't recognize the name, always click to make sure. Yes, this looks good to me. So I'm going to add that to this template. I'm moving this up. If you are working on like a template with a lot of forms and you forgot what you've added so far, you can click down here to see, okay, these are the forms that I've added. Yep. That's what I want. I'm going to continue. Now, the good thing about when you do templates is that you can like already add verbiage to these forms. Like if you always type the same thing in every buyer agency, if you're always going to put 2.5%, if you're always going to put 3%, you can go ahead and fill it out here in your template and it will remain that way. But if it's something that you think you're going to have to change, obviously you don't want to put any name, you don't want to put, you know, somebody's name here in the template because then it's always going to be there. But you could put Realty ONE Group, and then you would not ever have to fill that out again as long as you're using this template. Why is it not saving? I don't know why it's not letting me save. Well, another technical diff. I don't know why, unless it's wanting me to fill out all of that stuff. That's possible. But things that you've already filled out in your profile, you shouldn't have to fill out here. So maybe that's why it's not letting me do it. Maybe because it's already in my profile. But anyway, I'm just saying, if there's like verbiage that you're always putting in there and you're having to type it over and over, just add it here in your template and you won't have to add it again next time you pull up this template. But if you just want the template to be the forms, then I've saved the template and now I've got showing homes in North Carolina template, which I could choose anytime. I just want to quickly pull those two forms and get them completed. Going back to, so we talked a little bit about templates. Let's talk about libraries. Here you can just see like all the libraries that you have access to. You can filter. If you need to add, if you believe that you have access to another library, like if you believe you should have access to the South Carolina Association of Realtors forms, then you can add an additional association library here. Please note that if you are a licensed South Carolina realtor, that does not automatically give you access to the forms. You need to become a member of the South Carolina Association of Realtors. You need to pay them in order to get those forms in your library. I am going to show you at a later point where you can access blank South Carolina forms to use. If you are not a member of SCAR and you don't have them in this library, I'm going to show you where you can get those forms. Clauses is not something we really use. It's in other states, and I know this is also used in Canada. They use a lot of clauses. To me, a clause is like a legal thing, and as we know, we're not really supposed to be creating legal language in our documents. So clauses is like if you had this statement that you repeatedly use in certain documents, you can just pretty much rubber stamp that statement in there, but we don't really do that here in North Carolina or South Carolina. So I've never seen an instance where we would need to use clauses, but it's there as a part of this SkySlope options. Okay, so I'm going to go back to files here, and I've got this new buyer that I'm working with. So I'm going to create a file for them. I just want to toggle back really quickly to SkySlope to show you guys something that I know a lot of us do because it seems, you know, easy to do it this way, and it's fine. For example, I was saying I'm meeting a new buyer. I want to send them some documents. Sometimes people select this quick action over here to start a buyer agreement, and that's fine. It's a kind of a quicker way to get these documents going. But you see, it's bypassed some of the things. I'm not sharing. It's bypassed some of the options that I'm going to get when I create a file because it's kind of just taking you through a little bit quicker. It's not asking you, who's the client? Are they a buyer? It's not auto-loading, preloading all that information for you. And see how my library has been filtered for only buyer agreements. So now I can only choose from these forms. Once I do this and I press next, It's going to just give me the form to complete. And it's going to ask me to prepare a signature. So it's really not making a true file for this client. It's really just a quick way of getting a single document out to somebody. But where is going to lie the issue with doing that is if you do not name these envelopes something that notifies you of who it's for or what it is, you're just going to have a list of like 100 buyer agreements dated different days and different times. And it's going to get confusing because you're just going to see a list of buyer agreement, and it's not going to be organized for you or your mind. And this is a totally fine way to do it. I'm just saying for the sake of organization, I prefer to create a file new for every person. But this is a fine way to do it. I just wouldn't name it this. I would say, you know, sample Sally buyer agreement, so that when I go back and look at this, I know what's in it. Otherwise, it's just going to say buyer agreement. I'm actually going to cancel that though. Now, I like to create a file for everybody. So I'm going to click on this nice blue button that says create a file. This is going to be for a buyer. I'm using a fake name. It's going to ask me for their information, especially their email address, because you cannot send anything to anybody for signatures if you do not incorporate that. Now, this is something cool, how it talks to the MLS. So like I said earlier, this is going to pull in information from the MLS if you import that MLS data. But as we all know, we shouldn't be sending buyer's agencies and offers technically at the same time. So I don't have a property for this person yet. I'm just going to be meeting them to show them homes. And so these are the documents that I need to send them. After that point, if they're going to make an offer on a home, then at that point I could import the MLS data, and it's going to populate the address, even the listing agent's information. It's very helpful not having to go back and forth between, you know, matrix and then back here and putting all that stuff in. I'm going to name my file. Now, it doesn't have an address because I didn't pull in a property yet. I'm just going to name it the person's name for now. And there's that template that I made earlier. So I could select that template. I could select one of the other brokerage templates. Sometimes I just choose not to select these because occasionally they'll have more documents than I really need for that client. And so then I'm having to like delete documents from the file. It just depends on the situation and what documents you need. Some people really like to use templates. Some people don't. I'd say I tend to prefer to build my file on an individual basis. So I don't tend to use templates, but if you do, that's completely fine. And it's nice to be able to create your own. But since I did just make this template of these documents that I'm going to use, I'm going to go ahead and use that one. Okay, and in this view, so we've started the file. I've got the name up at the top. I can see the documents that I've added from the template. I'm just going to kind of explain what these are here. Envelopes are going to be envelopes that you've sent for digital signatures, but we haven't sent any yet. Once we do send documents for signature, they're going to appear here in the signed document section of the file. And then over here is going to be all the details for this file. So again, I don't have a whole lot of details yet because I'm just sending some documents for showing properties, but I've got my information in here and I've got the buyer's information in here. If I needed to add another buyer, I could at this point in time. I could also at a certain point when I get this under contract, I could add more information about the property. From this view here, there are some other additional things that you can do. You can upload documents to this file. So if there's some sort of document that you need for this file that is not a form you're pulling from North Carolina or South Carolina, what would be a form that if we were making an offer, we might need to upload into a file? Anybody here got an idea? The what?
Pre-approval.
The pre-approval, yes. You would need to, the what?
Disclosures.
Yep, the disclosures. So I would need to download those off the MLS or get them from the other agent and upload them into this file, because that's the only place I'm going to be able to get them from. Please note that anything you upload into here is not going to be like something you can fill out. There's not going to be like fillable blanks on there for you to type on. Now you can add text boxes if you need to, but the only things you're technically going to be able to fill out are the forms coming from your libraries. But yes, those are good examples of things that I would need to add there. Okay, so once I've checked these boxes here, I can do a few things with these forms. I can get rid of them. If I accidentally added those forms, I don't need them. I can just print them out the way they are. They'd be mostly blank, but they would have my profile information in there. Or I could download them to my computer. So I'm going to actually choose to fill these out because I want to send them to my buyer. So see, the Realty ONE Group Revolution is auto-populated in there because it is in my profile. I'm not going to be detailed filling this buyer agency out in the interest of time and in the interest of we do not all do it the same way. I just am going to do some brief stuff here. I'm going to check the boxes that are appropriate here for this buyer. Hopefully they have not signed a document with another real estate agent. This is going to expire on, let's say, April 30th, 2025. We're going to be charging them. Again, we all do this a little bit differently. If you ever have questions about how you should be completing these forms, don't hesitate to contact Andrea or myself or Logan. Obviously, we're going to be putting some initials in that section. If you're ever going to be charging your buyer a transaction fee or a document fee, you could put it in this section here. I know some of our agents do that. Okay, this is all going to auto-populate from your profile. Okay, we brought in Sally's name. Okay, that all looks good. Another option I have here as well from this portion of SkySlope Forms is I could also share these documents by email with whomever I'd like to. You can even send these documents in an editable format. So if the person wants to complete all of the blanks on their own, or if they want to change what you've put, you can actually email this as an editable PDF that they could then return to you. That's just an option if you're ever needing to do something like that. But today I'm going to prepare them for digital signature. So again, going back to the envelopes and naming things, anytime it asks you to name a file or an envelope, try to be as specific as you can with the name of that because it's going to help you keep organized. If I just name every single envelope that I send to this person, Sample Sally, then I might end up at the end of this transaction having 5 envelopes that are all called Sample Sally, and I don't know what documents are in each of those envelopes. So I try to be, kind of specific about what's in that envelope so that when I go back to look at it, I can keep track of what I've sent. Maybe I would call this document this because that is what is contained herein. And then I need to decide who needs to sign these documents. Obviously, Sample Sally needs to sign them. and I, as the buyer's agent, need to sign them. Gonna click on next. Okay, so now you see up in the left-hand corner how we've switched from SkySlope Forms to now we are in SkySlope DigiSign. So we're in the next phase of this workflow. We started at SkySlope Compliance. Are you guys seeing the right thing? Okay. We started in SkySlope Compliance, then we were in Forms, and now it's moved us into the DigiSign experience, they call it. Again, let's go up here and look at our profile before we get started with anything and check our preferences. Why is it going to make me leave the site to do that? Okay. Can you guys see what I'm looking at? Okay. I can't tell when it switches off. And there's really only a couple of preferences in here, like how you want your signature setting to be. When you stamp a signature, do you want it to also have the date and the time? Do you want it to just have the signature? I changed mine to have the date and the time because I just didn't want to keep adding dates when I could just do it once and it would already be there. One time my date format got messed up and I had no idea how it got messed up. I was doing, what's the other way people do dates in Europe? Is it year? Is it year, day? It got switched to that somehow. And it took me a while to figure out how to fix it. But this is where you would set that preference. In your DigiSign preferences, you want, month, day, year if you're here in the States. And then here, block selection preferences. This just means the block type selected will remain selected after you're placing a block, instead of if you could choose for it to deselect that block type, but then you'd have to keep going back up here and change it. This is all just personal preference. Email settings, send completed documents as a link and an attachment. That's the way I have it set up because I like those attachments when they come back in my email. I don't really like a link. So you could have it just as a link if that was what you preferred. Okay, so make sure you click save on anything that you change in there. I don't know how to get back to where I was. You think that's going to work? I'm always scared to hit the back. Okay, great. Thanks for that tip, Frank. I'm always afraid to hit that because I don't know where it's going to take me. Okay, so now I'm back to getting the signatures here. The beauty of using, now I know some agents come to the firm, they've been used to using DigiSign and they use zip forms and things like that. And that's all fine and well. You can use those if you'd like to. The only issue is it's going to cause you a little bit more work in the end because none of those programs talk to SkySlope the way that DigiSign and SkySlope Forms does. It's going to make your workflow easier. Everything's going to connect to SkySlope if you do everything within this suite of products. There's nothing wrong with using DocuSign or zip forms or any of that. Just going to make you have a little bit more work with attaching and bringing the files into SkySlope. But as a person who used to be obsessed with DocuSign, I was like, I never wanted to stop using DocuSign. I'm totally, completely happy with this DigiSign platform. It does everything I need it to do. It does everything that DocuSign did, and now it talks to my compliance so that I don't have to make extra work uploading all the documents from DocuSign into SkySlope. So here it's going to go ahead and they call it map the initials and signatures. Because you brought these documents over from Forms, it knows where all the initials belong. So those are already there for you. Now in the section here about dual agency and different agency types, it does automatically put all three of these initial stamps here, but as we know, we don't need all of those stamps there. It's up to you as the agent to decide how to complete this section here. I would probably choose to, personally for me, I would delete that section there. but I would leave these two initials. Also, when you click on the initials, it brings up this little editing block over here. If you want to give your client the option to initial that or signature that, you can click this box here, which makes it optional for them. It does not require them to initial it to get through the document. But if you know as the agent that they have to initial that, you don't want it to be clicked as optional because the person will skip right over it and not initial it. So this comes default as a non-optional initial here, okay? See, it's already all tagged for the signatures, dates. I don't have very much work to do here. That's all looking good to me. Just as you know, up here across the top, if I did need to do more work on this because it was maybe a form I brought in and it wasn't pre-tagged, you have all these choices up here of, you know, signature. I can delete that. You can add initials. You can just place somebody's full name if you need to do that on a line. Obviously, date. You can timestamp. You can add check boxes. And you can add text fields. I can't tell you how many times I've forgotten to fill something out in the previous screen, and I get over here and I'm like, oh, I got to add, you know, this date or this expiration or whatever I forgot. I can add a text field, and then it's just going to place a box, which I fill out over here, and then I can have that as a part of my document.
Allison,
Yes. That is a great question. No, you cannot. Yeah.
Put in the pre-approval, but
Mm.
not.
I do not know why that's not an option. And I guess it's because then you're circumventing the filling it out part, you know, like we'd have to go back to the filling out the document part, like the completion section. I've run into that many times, and I've come over here like, oh, can I add a document here? Well, you have two choices. If you've forgotten a document at this point, you can go ahead and move forward and send this envelope and alert your client that they're going to be receiving another envelope, or you can save all of your progress here and go back to forms and then add the document and start a new envelope. I've had to do that many times. And then, but you can over here on the left-hand side, add a recipient or change the people that are receiving it, which is pretty useful because I've had to do that as well. Like, let's say you realize there was another, there was they were married and you didn't add the other buyer or something like that. You can add the other person right here. You just need to make sure. That you, and they can even have the same email as the other person. It's still going to make them color coded as two different people, but you have to make sure you click save to add them.
And just a note there, just be aware if you're not already aware, when you fill out all the like agent information and all that stuff for the other side of the transaction, it sometimes will auto pull them in as a recipient.
Yes.
So just be aware.
You mean the listing agent, Jordan?
Yeah, the listing agent or the other side agent. So just be aware if you're doing that and you haven't informed them that you're gonna be like making a change or sending something over. Just be aware so they don't get that email before they get your phone call. You know, we had an agent in our office who shall remain nameless that I got a termination of contract and had no idea they were terminating.
Yeah.
So just be aware and make sure you're making those phone calls before you accidentally send the other side of the transaction the completed document.
That is a very good point. And if we had brought in the MLS information, Jordan, if this was a property, like we were writing an offer or, you know, any kind of contracts for it, it would automatically bring in the listing agent's information. But you need to look at your recipients and make sure that that listing agent is not receiving copy or needing to sign. You need to just like say no action for that person. Otherwise, they are going to get something from you, and you may not have intended for them to get that. At this area right here, you could also create groups for your signatures. So let's say that you don't want all 3 of these people to get this document at the same time. Let's say you want one of these people to sign the document first, and then that would trigger the other 2 people to receive the document. I know I've used that sometimes when I'm perhaps sending a lease to like a landlord, because I want the landlord to get the lease first. So I would make sure that the landlord, let's say I was the landlord, I'd leave that person up there, and I would drag, oops, I accidentally dragged them down to receive the copy. I want them to sign second, and I want this person to sign second. So now you've set up like an order of signatures, which can come in handy sometimes if you just want one group to get it first and then the next group to get it second. Otherwise, everybody's going to receive everything at the same time. I'm going to move everybody back up here to the top.
So I have never created envelopes from DigiSign. I go to forms,
Mm-hmm.
so like I'll go to forms and I like click the ones that I want to go sign.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you do it that way, that's where you can add in stuff that you've missed.
You go to forms.
Yeah, so I'll be on form. I was like, how did she even find this? I don't even know.
Mm.
So yeah, I'll be in the forms app.
Mm-hmm.
And then like when I'm in my file,
Uh-huh.
I'll have all those templates added.
Yeah.
Click on the templates that I want,
Mm-hmm.
and then I click prepare for signature.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates an envelope.
Yes.
From that screen, in the bottom left, you can add other forms if you forgot
Mhm.
something.
Okay. But what if you get to the tagging part? Can you add them there?
Yeah, but I think I can back out,
Okay.
and then it saves everything. It saves I can check.
Okay.
Past that. I don't, I've never.
Yeah, I think it's like when you get to this point, it's where it makes it difficult to add the forms back in. But you're saying you could just go
It doesn't
back?
take me to an envelope. It just takes me to like.
Okay. Well, and I mean, that's something else I was going to mention. There's like 5 different ways to do this. Whatever way works best for you is fine. I personally like to create the files and have the files and doing it that way. And that's, if you watch a lot of the SkySlope training videos, that's the way they suggest to do it. But that doesn't mean that's the only way to do it. So kind of keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and send this now. Elizabeth's looking to see if she can do that. This section here is kind of had a little bit of a revamp since the whole NAR judgment and everything. If you send a buyer agreement, it's going to auto-populate this, please review and sign your buyer agreement subject line. This is the subject line that the person is going to see in their email. So if this is not what you wanted to say, this is the time to change it. I usually do change it, just depending on what I'm sending there. But in this scenario, I am sending just documents for the purpose of meeting to show properties. So I'm okay with the way this is titled. I may add their last name, just for my, if I ever need to go back and search this email, I can put that person's name in and the email will come up. I might just even put a comma there. And then now they've got this little nifty feature down here where you can use AI to create, a little email to that person. You can change it to be more professional if that's your demeanor, or if this is a 4:55 on the day of due diligence extension and it's urgent, you can click the urgent button. I usually go with friendly. Or you can change this completely. If you don't like this, if you never say cheers, change cheers. It's whatever you wanted to say. Looking forward to finding the perfect home. I'm okay with that. So I'm going to send that out. It's going to look like this now. If it's something that you need to sign, if you're one of the people that needs to sign it, then it's going to give you the opportunity right now to sign it, which I always take that opportunity, because if I don't sign it right now, then it's just going to be in my email and it has to, wait until I get into my email to sign it. And the way that it's looking for you is almost identical to how it looks for your client. It's going to take them to all the places they need to initial or sign. For some reason, it always skips that one. I don't know why. Somebody else told me that yesterday, and you have to go back up and initial it. I don't know why. It's like a bug or something. Okay, and then they're going to see, you can keep track of, how many things you've needed to initial down here at the bottom. I've got 4 out of 4 initialed and signed. And so now the blue, this is what a lot of our clients miss, this blue button down here at the bottom. Sorry, people here can't see because of my thing. They miss that blue button and they think they finished signing, but they haven't clicked the finish signing button. So be on the lookout for the blue button. That's what I tell them. I don't need to download these signed documents because whenever you send an envelope, you're going to get an email with the documents and they're going to be in your file as signed documents. So I never download anything right here. I don't need to, but your client may want to download the signed documents, and this is a good opportunity for them to do so. And now it's going to give me a status of how far along these documents are. So I'm back here in my file. So I can go back to my forms. I still got all those forms there. I can go to the envelopes. This is the one I've sent. I've only sent one. There's no fully signed documents yet. I'm going to go into my emails real quick and sign that so you can see what it looks like for them. They're going to have to. Oh, yes. Sorry. But again, it looks kind of the same for all of us. Oh, I don't have to sign any. Oh, I didn't tag that person that I added, so they didn't have anything to sign. This person does have to sign, though. Didn't ask me to sign anything. Ooh, that's because I already signed that one. Sorry, I had 3 in my inbox because I added all those people. Sally. Get started. Sign. Oh, it's going to let me choose. That's my favorite. It's probably going to make me go back up and sign some initial that I missed. 6 out of 7. Oh, 7 out of 7. Okay. Got my blue box. Okay. So now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to refresh, share this tab. I'm going to refresh this page. And now I have my signed documents in here because they got all signed. So that's nice. So while we're doing all of this, your SkySlope compliance, that first yellow or gold screen that we came into when we clicked on SkySlope, it knows everything that I'm doing over here. And now that these documents are signed, it's aware that those documents exist. And it's going to make it easier when this person gets under contract for me to create that transaction over in SkySlope. Does anybody have any different ways of doing this that they think, they want to give that tip, or any tips or tricks that anybody's come across that they want to share, or any questions?
Yeah, the way that I do it, I cannot add another form to the envelope, but I found a thread in SkySlope support where there's other agents begging for the
Yeah.
added off.
Great. Okay.
So if anybody wants that link to add it on as well.
Awesome. Okay. Let's raise our angry fists to the sky and tell them we need to add documents at the signing, like at the tagging portion, because all of us always forget some document. Yeah.
I was going to say also in envelopes.
Mm-hmm.
Go back over the here and then click on the 3 buttons. If you're ever wondering like where they're at in the process, viewing the history, so you can see if they've opened it and they're over there like contemplating, do I sign this? Do you have questions or something?
Yeah.
You can see how many times they've opened it or anything like that.
Sure. That's a good tip. Like they're saying, I never got it. And I'm like, well, you looked at it. You can also, which another good thing is, it doesn't say it now because this has been completed, but this is where you would also come to correct an envelope. Like if you realize that you missed a text box you need to add or an initial somewhere that you realized you got to put in there, you can still correct the envelope as long as it hasn't been signed yet. Once it's signed, you can't go in there and change anything. That's why it's not giving me that option right now. But you can also, another option, if it's not signed yet, is to resend the envelope again so that it will appear at the top of their email inbox. So, you know, if you've sent it to them a week ago and they still haven't signed it, you can send them a little text and be like, hey, I'm sending you those documents again. They should be at the top of your inbox. So just resend from here. Yeah. Thank you, Brittany. Lots of good options with those little 3 dots there. Okay, so now I'm going to go just to show you guys. You can see that I have that file here now with the 2 documents that I put in there, the 1 envelope that I've sent. What are my other options with this? I can rename this. So let's say that Sample Sally gets under contract eventually. I could rename this file to the address or whatever I decide. I can completely duplicate this file. I've never had to do that, but it's an option if you need to do that. Or if you just want to get this off of your desk here, maybe it's somebody that never worked out, you never heard from again, you need to get rid of them. You can archive it. That doesn't mean that it goes away forever. You can still get back and look at it again if you need to, because you can access your archives. But if you just visually don't want to see it anymore, you can put it in the archive.
Pull it back in once you've archived it.
Yeah, like restore it.
Restore.
Okay.
Yeah, you click on the 3 little buttons, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Elizabeth has one right here. Oh, did you just do this? Oh, that's what she just did, I think. That's got your name on it. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I have
Let me get out of there.
I mean, I have that one funky one where we're getting a lot thrown in.
Uh-huh.
I had like 3 files for the same buyer, and then I just like downloaded everything. I just put everything in, so that's why.
And yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. If you are continually like doing that from SkySlope, like just sending a form, a one-off, or like randomly here and there, you might end up with what looks like 5 different files for that one person, and it gets a little confusing. But what Elizabeth is saying is she could just take all the signed documents, put them into one of those files, rename it, and then it's more organized and everything's in one place.
Download it and then upload it. There's no way to, I wish there was a way to just.
Oh, to combine them. Yeah, I don't think. Well, let's add that. Let's add that to the request list. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and again, the beauty of our business is we all kind of run it our own way and do it our own way. So there might be something that it frustrates me that this doesn't do, but somebody else might not care. It's just, we're all kind of individuals, and I'm sure they're trying to make it accommodate as many people as possible. But the other portion of this is I'm going back to SkySlope compliance, is being compliant with your brokerage, with your state rules and regulations, what documents are required. So, they have to be careful not to just let you do whatever the heck it is you want to do in the whole entire world. So that brings me back to the gold screen, the SkySlope compliance screen. So I just want to kind of show you around this screen a little bit now that we're here, because remember, the only 2 times you need to put anything in here is if you have a buyer under contract or a listing agreement signed by a seller. Now, you can put buyer agreements in here if you would like to do so before they are under contract, just for the purposes of you know, keeping track, if you would just like to be more organized and get your buyer agreements into SkySlope, maybe that helps motivate you to get that person under contract. I don't know what it is. We don't require you to do that, but with the changes with NAR and everything, these systems have offered more options for brokerages. Some brokerages do require you, if you get a buyer's agency signed, to put that into SkySlope. So it's an option if you want to do that. We're not saying that you have to do that, but you do have to do it if they are under contract. So speaking of that, let's just look around here. I can see it's just kind of keeping me updated here at the top, how many transactions I have open right now, what's pending, what I've closed in the last, I think this is 30 days, things that are expired, just kind of your statistics. And if you scroll down here a little bit, you can see your most recent transactions. You can click here to see a list of all of your most recent transactions. If you have listings, you would click here to look at your listing files. What question? Oh, okay. And then if you go all the way down here, it's even showing me the things that I've been doing in forms, documents that I've been sending in forms, and then recent envelopes that I have sent. It tells me if they're completed, if they're in progress. Is this what you're saying you do here, Elizabeth? You go to create new envelope here?
When I'm in SkySlope forms,
Oh,
I like click the ones and then it goes to envelope.
okay.
Yeah, I've never gone straight to envelope.
Okay.
I didn't even know that was right now. I see it. Now I get it. It's where it takes me. I just
Yeah,
go to-
create new envelope, but it's making me choose. Well, I don't have to choose a property. I could just choose that. I've never clicked this before. I'm just seeing what happens. Oh, it's taking me into DigiSign. Upload the documents I want to sign. Yeah, I just feel like I'm not as organized when I do it these different ways. I like just that create new button. Makes me a file, and it makes me, put in their information and everything. So
Look,
again,
my whole life I've done everything backwards.
I'm not saying it's backwards. If that's the way you want to do it.
Probably told me 20 times how to do it. And I go off and do it a different way.
Well, and the other thing is they're giving you all these. I mean, SkySlope wouldn't be giving you all these choices if they didn't all get us to the same end result, right? It's just whatever way works best for you. Yeah, but you can. It just is listed here. Yeah, it's just listed as a pre-contract buyer agency. And you can start putting things in that file, and
Yeah.
you don't have
I
to.
did the pre-contract.
Okay,
Because I don't want to forget to do that part.
sure.
later.
Okay.
So I get paid.
I actually X this
Yeah,
out
I-
because I don't like looking at that.
Get that filled out so that you get your.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's say that we did get something, either we wanted to put a buyer agency in before contract, or we wanted to get a contract that we just got signed into SkySlope. Oh, and before I do that, I do want to point out one more really super duper important button in SkySlope. The more button. Isn't it so descriptive? Important, but not very descriptive. So the more button will get you into some stuff that you need to have to complete your transactions here, especially at Realty ONE Group. More is going to get you to our firm's working documents. So you have to click more, and you're going to go down here to working documents. Okay. You can save, like if you have personal documents that you just want to always keep like at the ready, maybe you don't have some other platform you're saving them on. I use Google Drive. You can use Dropbox, whatever your way of organizing documents is. That's where I would put these kinds of documents. But you can upload any personal document here to your personal documents if you would like to. But the real reason to come in here is to access the office documents. So you need to toggle. I know it's very nondescript, but this is office documents. And you do actually have to open up the little folder to get to all these goodies that are inside here. So mine says Wesley Chapel because as we know, RIP the Wesley Chapel office. I'm still kind of holding a place for that office. So when we open a new office, we just change the name in here, but just disregard that. Most of y'all says Charlotte or Indian Land. You should still have all the same folders though. Does everybody have the same folders in there? Okay. So there's some MLS forms in here. I think we probably need to update this transaction coordinator folder. That might be old forms for the old transaction coordination program. But here's where you can find blank South Carolina documents if you need one of those, or if you need North Carolina documents, those are in here as well. Yes. But when you first open the little folder, you'll see several documents over here on the right that are really important. We've got the company W-9, which I realize needs to be updated. This is from last year, so we need 2025 W-9. We have the company wire authorization form. So if you are closing with an attorney that will wire you your commission, that would be nice. We don't have to wait for checks or go pick them up or anything. You can use this form. It's already signed by Andrea to authorize them to send the wire to us. I don't think these are useful anymore. These because now we have like wireless printing. I don't think you need those, but they're still in there. The most important thing in here is this closing transaction form. Frank, was this what you were looking for?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. But this is the form that everybody sees in their checklists in SkySlope. It's a requirement. It needs to be put in there. And I don't know, currently that's the best place to keep it is in working documents. But the nice thing about it is once you click on it, it is a fillable PDF. So you can just, you know, type all your stuff in here and then save it once you've got it all filled out correctly. And then save it, and then you'll be able to upload it into your file. But that is where that form is. Oh, sorry. Here's the form. Yes, it's nice because you can fill it out. Save, and then you're going to put it into your file when you're done.
Allison,
Yes.
the W-9 form is still good because it's dated 2024.
Right, I just mentioned we have to put the new one in there. Sorry. Yep. We have to upload the 2025 or a newly signed form for 2025. Yes.
And on that transaction form, can you scroll down?
Yes.
Does that have your name?
It needs to be updated. Yeah. We got to add those tiers. Well, you know, wishful thinking could sometimes come true. And this also needs to add, we're going to need to do some additions for the transaction coordinator because I think these numbers are not correct. Yeah. 350 is the only one that's correct, but we got to make some updates. So I'm working on that today. It's fine for now. And the nice thing about this is you can also type just like notes in here. Like you can explain, hey, I need to send, you know, I don't know how to tell you, but I need to send $500 to another agent in the firm because I did a referral with them, et cetera, et cetera. You can type, you know, notes and then Amanda reads it and she can contact you to get clarification for everything. Okay, so that is where that document is. I know it's kind of hiding. You have to click like 4 times to get to it. I'd really love to try and figure out a better place to house that document, but that's where it is for right now. If it changes, we'll let you know. If it changes, we'll probably just leave it there and then put it someplace else, if anything. Next, I'm going to go to create new. So remember, the only, 2 options here are either to create a transaction or to create a listing. Today, I'm going to go for a transaction. And it really is nice kind of how it walks you through these things. It just kind of asks you some questions. You're not filling out a ton of stuff. Am I putting in a referral? Is this a person purchasing a property? Am I representing both sides? Like it's giving you a lot of options here. I'm going to go with purchase. And then this was new after the, you know, changes in the industry. We used to not have this pre-contract option We used to only have it never asked you this question. It just assumed that you were under contract. I'm going to go with this one for today because I'm going to use that same forms that I used. Now, this is the beauty of using the forms for SkySlope instead of Zip Forms or some other platform. It already knows all of the things that I've been doing in my forms platform. So I can just go ahead, click on this one, continue on through. And it doesn't let me change that. It's going to ask me what kind of property it is. I'm going to say it's townhome. Now, this is what's going to determine the actual final checklist of documents that you're going to be required to have. So it's double checking again. Where is this located? It's a residential listing in North Carolina. I'm going to continue on through here. I've got Sample Sally. I did add another person on that other one, but that was just for, to show you guys how to add another person. For now, it's just going to be Sample Sally. I've got to put in her phone number. Now, if they were an LLC or a company purchasing the property, you would check this box here and it's going to give you some other options, but it's just a normal person. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to continue. Ooh, they're getting it ready. Okay. So this see this little label up here? It says pre-contract. So this means that it is not under contract. It's just, helping me. Yeah. It's just helping me collect my documents that I'm going to need eventually for that person. And this is, a lot of people have asked me, how do I know what are going to be the documents that are required for this transaction to get closed out? Well, this would be a good way to get access to the checklist without having something under contract. You could just put in their buyer's agency or whatever forms you have, and it's going to show you what's going to ultimately be required for that closing. So everything red is going to be required. Now, once I click on, let's see, what do I have to put in here? I don't have a lot. I've got, where's buyer agency? Do I have buyer agency in here? It's got to be in here somewhere, right? Buyer possession. Buyer agreement documentation, sales documentation.
Exclusive buyer, yeah.
Oh. Purchase contract, pre-approval, MLS. That's strange. It doesn't require that right now. It's not even on the list. Am I missing it, guys? Do you see it? These are reports. I made a transaction. Maybe because I haven't accepted. I know. Maybe it's because it's not. See, I don't ever do this pre-contract one.
Oh, because
Buyer agreement
should be in the
Yeah.
contracts.
I shouldn't even started this if I don't have a buyer agreement.
But it should be okay. Like mine had it.
That's weird.
Mine is number 2.
Did I pick seller instead of buyer? It doesn't even.
Look, checklist at North Carolina residential listing.
Oh, you checked listing.
Oops. Well,
Purchase.
I think I can change that. Hold on. I can change that. Edit. Oops. Yeah, I sure did pick listing, you guys. That's what happened. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This looks better. Okay. All right. So just to show you guys, if I do have that buyer agency already, I can click this little attach button and see all of those documents that I got signed by the sample Sally are listed right here at the bottom. So I can just choose which one I'd like to assign. And then the paperclip means that it's in there. And yellow means that it's ready for compliance to review. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, if you create these pre-contract things, I'm pretty sure that we're not going to be deeply reviewing these because there's not much happening yet. But once you do get it under contract, you know, it's going to be more important for us to check what you got in there. But if you ever are like, I don't know if I used the right form, or did I put the things in there, did I type the right thing in the right box? You can communicate with, I hope everybody knows Amanda. She's the one that's checking all of these. You can communicate with her by putting notes in here. Every time a note is added, it does alert her like, hey, there's a question, there's a note, there's something I need to look at. You could say to her, you know, is this the right form? And you could save that right here. Make sure you click save. And then every time you make a comment, it's going to be listed here. It's kind of like a log of your back and forth between the compliance person and yourself. So that's a good way to like say, hey, I'm not sure, or I had a question about this, or, you know, if I've found that sometimes there's required documents that are not going to be in existence. Like, what's an example? Like, sometimes with new construction, it'll say you need a property disclosure, but there is no property disclosure for new construction. So you would type in there like NC new construction disclosure not required. And then that allows her to know that you're not going to be uploading that because it doesn't exist. So that's what we would use those for. Also, once you've created a transaction, I want to show you guys up here that you do have these things up across the top. Remember, I went back to transaction details. I could change the details of the transaction if I made a mistake. And then I could also click over here to documents. I would undo what I attached when I did that. That's why I don't like going. Did I go back? Yeah, well, I might have to do it again. But I was going to show you another way you can attach things is right here in documents. You can also split documents. So like if somebody sends you the mineral oil gas rights and the property disclosure like in one PDF, you can come here and actually split those documents apart. If you would like to do that, that's an option here. You would just click split. And then you choose which pages are, so sorry, I have to move this, guys. You would name the document. And this even, once you split the document, if you attach it to the checklist, it's going to attach from here as well. So I guess I haven't done that before because it's telling me how to do it. I've never really done that, but it's an option if people are just sending you like, here's like if you dropped off a packet, like a listing packet to a seller, and they just sent it all back to you in one PDF, you could bring it into your file and then you could split it here if you needed to do that. Because I know a lot of people do that. Pick the Xbox. Okay. So that is, and it's going to look similar, the same. If you have it under contract, it's going to start requiring you, you know, it's not going to have this little thing up here and you're going to have to upload a bunch of stuff. You also are going to have to click this button. Like if you're changing it from a pre-contract to a contract, you're going to have to convert this to an accepted contract transaction. And then it's going to flip it. And then it's going to ask you some more questions now. You could even like import the MLS data and all that. You're going to get more forms and options. So
How do you, is there a way, like when you're attaching your forms to your checklist, is there a way to pull the sign from DigiSign instead of downloading it and re-uploading it?
yeah.
Just out of curiosity.
going into the envelope.
So you're talking about like if I'm at the checklist here,
Yeah, and I go to attach.
I go to attach.
How does it talk to my file that I have in DigiSign?
So they're all listed down here. They're all down here. If you created a file, and that's the file that you chose when you created the transaction in SkySlope, it knows all the documents that you've already gotten signed in that file.
How do I attach my file to the SkySlope? Because I create, so mine's not attached. What's the problem? My transaction that I have is not attached to a file. So I don't know what I did for that to happen. Unless I created my transaction first.
Yeah, so at this point right here, Elizabeth, is where it would connect it. Let's say I have it under contract. It says add a property from Google MLS or SkySlope Forms.
Oh, I added.
So if I chose,
That's why.
oh,
I added it from MLS, and I don't know if I can.
okay. Yeah, I would always choose the Forms file because that's going to really pull everything over from Forms. Because you're like giving it permission to attach that file to this transaction, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. The only other thing we would be doing in here is obviously as soon as you get a listing agreement signed, you're going to need to get that listing into SkySlope. And again, you have an assistant that helps you do that. And like we just said, Elizabeth, if I'm going to put a listing into SkySlope, I'm going to want to pull it from Forms so that here's some seller things in here. These are other people. But then it's going to bring over all the forms. It's going to bring over all of the information that I've already entered into Forms.
Now, does that new create a listing? Because I feel like when I had a listing
Mm-hmm.
last year that I did it through,
Mm-hmm.
just create transaction. and put it
No,
on
it's
there.
always been, there's been two choices, always listing or transaction. I think this little assistant lady might be, I think this assistant person might be a new kind of way to walk you through entering the listing. But you've always had to choose, am I putting in a listing or am I putting in a under contract buyer? Yeah. And then once you put, let me see if I can pick a guinea pig here. I'm gonna pick Lauren. Yeah, then here it asks you a lot of questions. And unfortunately, I don't know the answers to these questions for this listing, but it's going to ask you questions about, you know, the information. I guess because she didn't have it all filled out, it's not pulling it over. But the more work you do in the file and Forms, the easier it's going to be in SkySlope. Otherwise, you're just going to have to enter the stuff like twice. So. That's really mostly everything I wanted to show you guys. Now I'm logged out for some reason. I'm gonna go back. Does anybody on this call did I not answer any questions for anybody that was wondering about things with SkySlope or having problems with something in SkySlope?
Is this recorded? Can we
Yes.
review this?
I hope it's recorded. We had an internet snafu, but it looks like it's been recorded the whole time based on.
And you're going to send it out to us?
Yep, we'll send it out.
Great, thanks.
And I will point out, if I can get back into SkySlope here, it was making me log in again. There's some really, really good training videos here in SkySlope. Like, we've got SkySlope training. If you are a new agent using SkySlope, I mean, it's got a whole list of webinars that you can watch, agent training. They also have really good support. What? I'm not sharing that, sorry. They also have really good chat feature. Like if you're just having kind of like a techie, glitchy problem with SkySlope, you can't get a library that you think you should have, chat with SkySlope, and they will almost always be able to help you solve the issue. They're pretty darn good. Yeah, Taylor said she's chatted with them. They're very helpful. Robin, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'm going to see you tomorrow. I'm not seeing I use SkySlope in my previous brokerage, and I'm not seeing some of the same things that you're seeing. So I'm going to bring my computer with me tomorrow, and I'll show you what I'm seeing versus what you're seeing. Most of it is the same, but there's a few spots. I'll send you an email today so you know in advance.
Okay. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Now, we have run into, it seems like recently, I know which brokerage you were with before, and it seems like it's almost like your SkySlope gets stuck in the prior brokerage's account. And we have had success like chatting with SkySlope to let them know, like, hey, this agent has switched firms, like move them to the Realty ONE Group version of the SkySlope account. Is that kind of what you think is happening, or it's different?
Well, that happened, and then I now see the right like logos and everything on my thing. I just think there's some. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't think everyone needs to know. This is my issue, not anyone else's. So,
well, it could be somebody else's. Thanks for sharing. We'll look at it tomorrow and see if we can get it figured out.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. Thanks for coming today. Anybody else struggling, having successes, want to share anything? Okay. Sorry to keep you guys so long. I always try to keep things to an hour, but it never works out. But I do want to remind everybody that's still on the call that we will be having the, basically it's not really an awards luncheon. It's just a company celebration luncheon on January 31st. We are like moments away from finalizing the location for that. But it's a really nice lunch where we all get together and celebrate all of our successes, the firm's successes over the last year, and just get together and have a good time. It's probably the most well-attended event of the year, I would say. So it's your best opportunity to meet the most agents in the company if you come. So it's going to be on January 31st, which is a Friday, from 11 to 1. Location TBD in the next probably 24 hours. It's going to be close to the Arboretum office, I believe, though. So hope to see everybody there. And if you ever have any questions about anything, please reach out to myself or Andrea, broker in charge for Charlotte, South Carolina broker in charge for all of us. If you're in the Indian Land office, your North Carolina broker in charge is Joe Houseman. If you don't know how to get a hold of Joe, let me know. And yeah, thanks for coming today, everybody. Hope you stay warm and have a good week. Bye-bye.